Welcome to the Soul Well podcast, where moms of color find strength and community in the mental health space. Each week, we ignite inspiration as we set our intentions with affirmations and dive deep into honest conversations with fellow moms and mental health experts. We're here to hold space for you, to shatter stigmas and elevate the voices of moms of color. We'll fight for policy change, empower you with mindful resources, and most importantly, remind you that you're never alone on this journey. It takes a village to raise a mother. Now let's meet at the well. Hey, mamas, and welcome back to the So Well podcast. It's your host, Autumn Cologne, and I am so excited to be back with you for another episode. Just a quick update. If you have been a listener for a while, you may have noticed we have been a little up and down with our podcast lately, but we are back on schedule. You can catch the So Well podcast bi-weekly. We used to do every week, and your girl, I'm a mom, I'm all the things. We have changed our schedule and we are now doing podcasts every other Tuesday. So twice a month, you can catch the Soul Well podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And we will be doing our normal guest episodes, the solo episodes. And I'm excited to share some really great news about a new segment we have coming up soon. But I'll stop yapping and get into the guest for today. Today's guest is Precious K. Williams. She is a mom coach and motivational wellness speaker based in metropolitan Atlanta. She is also the founder of Simply Passionate Life and CEO of Moms on a Mission Wellness, a lifestyle brand and wellness platform for moms on a mission to build generational health. Precious educates moms on how to L.I.F.T, lift themselves first to create a ripple effect in the health of their families. Her mission is to train moms on how to lighten their load, ignite their spark, and embrace a freedom mindset so they can finally take their turn in their own lives and build generational health. Precious earned her bachelor's degree in health science at Howard University and a master's degree in counseling at Georgia State University. Before becoming a mom, she lost 75 pounds, yes, queen, to transform her life and health. As a result, she's extremely passionate about education and holistic health promotion. With her experience as a loving mom of 3 and faithful wife of 1, Precious coaches her clients and audience that generational health starts with you. You can't afford to put off your health another day. It's mom's turn. And with that, let's jump into today's episode. Hey, mamas, and welcome back to the So Well podcast. I have my guest, Precious K. Williams, here with me today. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Autumn.
Yay! I'm so excited. I was telling Precious before we hopped on, before we hit record, that I admire a lot of what she does with her brand and the moms that she supports online. And so we're going to get into that a little bit later today. But to jump off our conversation, I want to have us start with our mom space segment, which is where I have my guests introduce themselves and share a little bit about their motherhood journey and or their experience with motherhood.
Wonderful. Well, hey, y'all. I am Precious K. Williams. I love to describe myself outside of what I do first. So I'm a lover of God. I'm a Jesus girl at heart. My family is from Ghana, West Africa. I was raised in Chicago, Illinois, graduated from Howard University, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. So you're going to hear all types of mixed accents in this conversation, a little bit of Nuck If You Buck, a little bit of Chicago Mass Choir. But, as a millennial mom of African descent, that has shaped my motherhood journey a lot. I was raised in a blended family. So my mom and dad were married after they had their own children, and then had my sister and I. We all were raised in the same family, one big Brady bunch. Okay. Something I don't share a lot is that we didn't even know that they had other parents until we were teenagers. And so my culture, we talk about Black folks keeping stuff private. Africans, okay. So we found that out in teenage years and mind blown, right? Like, what? What do you mean? We don't understand.
How does this work?
What do you mean by that, right? Like we know how that works, but how does that work?
Right.
So just living and watching my mom raise my brothers like her own, and watching my siblings who were not blood related literally look. out for each other as if they were, kind of shaped how I live my life today. My husband was a single father when I met him, and so I went from being a companion past, traveling the country, traveling the world type woman to an instant mom. And that journey was a very steep learning curve. I have a background in education, so I was familiar with child development. I have a counseling degree. Um, but it's different when it's your child. It's different when the child
Mm-hmm.
lives with you. And so I think the way I approach motherhood and approach working with moms is highly informed by the fact that I know how hood motherhood can be. Like, I know how much of a splash of cold water turning into being a woman
Mm-hmm.
and then turning into being responsible for other humans can be. And so my motherhood journey is a lot of just being able to say the real things. Like, there is no hood like motherhood. You're not always gonna like
Mm-hmm.
your kids. You're not always gonna like this job, but that doesn't mean you're
Yeah.
not gonna be damn good at it, you know. And I
Mm-hmm.
say damn sometimes, even though I love Jesus, you know, like like it's okay to admit those things because the Lord even tells us to cast our cares upon him, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not for pretending in motherhood. And yeah, so I'm in my own blended family with three daughters, two biological. The third is the child I chose first, right? I knew her
Mm-hmm.
before she became my daughter. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
my baby. And that's a little bit of the background of my mommy hood journey.
Awesome. I love that. A lot of different experiences. And I heard you say on this the So Well podcast, we talk a lot about generational experiences, how those experiences impact our motherhood journeys. And I heard you say, we like to keep things private and you grew up in a family that was close knit and it really it impacts how you mother and also how
Right,
you help moms as well.
right,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important. And one of the things that I was reading about you in your work is you really do a big emphasis on generational health and what that means. And so that's a perfect segue, right? You talk about these generational experiences, whether, passing down information or not passing down information and being, like whether you're mothering the same as the way your mother mothered you. But health is also integral and important in that. Can you talk a little bit about why that's important for you and why it's critical for moms?
Yeah. So there are seven areas of health, right? A lot of times people think about physical health only. And as we are moving into this new generation of millennials, Gen Z, we're talking more about mental health, right, and social health. But there's spiritual health, right? There is social health. There is environmental health. There's a lot of things that impact your wellness journey. And so, growing up with a mom who had me at 40, right? She had me 4 days after her 40th birthday. Um, I saw a woman that didn't quite click to me until recently that she was in her 50s doing the best she could with what she had, raising
Mhm.
us as an immigrant, first generation business owner, like all of these things. So the context in which I saw her live life was not in a self care, take care of yourself, boundaries type of way.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
saw her do
Mhm.
it in a way that was highly self sacrificial, highly
Yes.
uh, high level of stress, high level of burnout, right? And but the one thing that did pass down to me was her love for the Lord and her faith. And so my spiritual health and wellness journey has been passed down to me. And I will always be grateful for that because that's the foundation in which I grew on. But I did
Mm.
realize that I did not want to be a mom that was burned out, overwhelmed, never rested, like didn't take vacations outside of going to take care of my family in another continent. Like, I wanted to be a mom that prioritize her health. And that journey for me started before having kids. I knew that
Right.
if I wanted to be that type of woman or that type of mom, I had to be that type of woman. So I lost 75
Mm.
pounds before having children. I prioritized and naturally, right? So I
Mhm.
I started by taking inventory of my personal health journey. Although I had a health science degree, I wasn't applying that information until I really had that come to precious moment and say, you know what? You're in your mid 20s now. Like, you cannot keep hiding from the camera and relying on angles. Like, no, you got to do the work. And so that nexus moment is really what, and changing my health story. Like, I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have high cholesterol. These are things that my mom has, but I don't have because of that decision to try to change the health story. So yeah, generational health is huge, and I do believe that we don't have to accept what has been passed down to us. The things that our
Mm-hmm.
moms and grandmas had to handle because they didn't have a choice, we don't have to
Mm-hmm.
inherit. And
Yeah.
I'm always honoring my mom for doing the best she could, what she had, and honoring her means that I don't keep passing on that same struggle that she didn't have a choice. I do.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I actually resonate so much with your story and saying that I lost 75 pounds also, but it
Yeah,
wasn't yes, it wasn't until after I had kids. And I love that you spoke about preparing yourself for motherhood, and I want to come back to that. But because one of the things that I think is important is taking care of your health and your
yeah,
story. One of the things that you talk about, my grandmother was a pastor, and she instilled in me faith and taking care and honoring God and praying and having a spiritual life be the foundation for for how you exist in this world. But that generational health, that you know pounds of sugar in the sweet potatoes,
facts.
ham hock and the collard greens, like I had to teach myself how to eat because I didn't know. I grew up with so much processed food. In my experience, like I had to relearn a lot of that health. And I can imagine that could be similar for you when you're in your
Oh yeah,
experience, having to teach yourself how to feed yourself in a healthy way so that you can pass that on to your children. You don't have to say, I'm not passing on high blood pressure or diabetes. Like that doesn't have to be the narrative of my children if I
yeah,
make that choice and that single change with me. So I just wanted to say, like, I relate to you on that. But my experience came after, and you spoke about preparing yourself for motherhood because you have your chosen child, and then you had your biological children.
right,
I'm assuming after that, right?
right,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about more of that preparation in your motherhood experience and what that was like?
Yeah, so I love what you mentioned about generationally and what we are passed that what's passed down to us that we can't necessarily help, and then you have to relearn and unlearn, right? But one
Mm-hmm.
thing I want to mention about both preparation and the process of choosing to build generational health is that it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't only impact your kids, but it does go backwards and impact your family, right? So
Mm.
like my mom doesn't cook with accent anymore. My mom doesn't always
Yes.
like put a whole bunch of palm oil and everything anymore. She
Mhm.
knows how to make jollof rice with brown rice. Though she's like, I'm not choosing to do that. Like that's for you guys. I don't make white rice. But she may sometimes like make sure she doesn't always use smoked turkey in her stew. Like there are things that now that because I've chosen this path for myself or going for walks and things like that and drinking her water, like these are things that impact my children that's all they know, but it's also undoing some of that generational habits on for them too. So if you're a bonus
Mm.
parent or someone who's listening to this because you just love the creators of this podcast, don't feel like you have to wait till you have kids to have that motivation. Like that's going to impact the generation that's still here and it is not over.
Yes.
It's not, is this your legacy goes backwards and forward.
Mm.
And the preparation part, honestly, it was so cut and dry. I
Mhm.
knew that I didn't want my base weight to be 245. I knew that. I knew
Mhm.
that when you have kids, it gets harder as you get older. Like I said, I have a health science degree from Howard University, the best university in the whole world. And so I
Okay.
know what happens to the body, right? I know not only that, but hormonally. I did research 2 years through this program called the McNair program about heart disease in Black women. And so I already knew all these things, but it's not knowing is not enough. You have to have the accountability and the community in order to be consistent. And so
Mm.
it was really about getting in the community of people who took care of their health, like in your mid 20s, not just going out to the club and drinking. Like I had to join different gyms. I started kickboxing, join my young adult ministry, making sure that we had some health components in our young adult ministry, making sure that we look at our bodies as the temple of the Holy Spirit. That you can't just talk about worshiping God with your lips, but then you're poisoning yourself the next minute with either
Mhm.
refined sugar or alcohol, right? Like these
Mhm.
things have to be addressed. And as women of God, we cannot continue to pretend like those things don't exist and they're not doing detrimental things to the mission he has for us. And so I think that for me it was at first really cut and dry that I got to get some of this weight off. And then as I began the journey, I realized various components that I add in my coaching program today that were what made me successful, what made me lose the 75 pounds and never gain it back. And
Mm.
putting those pieces together, I won't pretend like during the time I knew exactly what I was doing, but
Yeah.
retrospectively, thankfully, I was able to put those things together and now help other people not have to go through the trial and error that I went through.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so many things that you said there. The first thing that I absolutely love that you said is like how how the generational like goes back. How it
Yeah.
goes back when you can see that your mom is like doing something to impact her life and make a change. And I know that that's beautiful to see and to witness and say like, oh wow, like my mom's drinking water. She's going for
Yeah.
a walk. I love that. But another thing that you said and you spoke about, which segues into the next portion of our conversation, is about being on this mission, right? And you talk a lot about in your work, Moms on a Mission, in your program. Can you talk a little bit about how that came together and what your program is and what it offers and what it means to you and moms that you work with?
Yes, I can. I would love to.
Mm.
So, what comes down? It comes down to the belief that I have that with every child, something new is born in a mother, right? Every single one of my children, from the first one that I met, in May of 2011, and went into covenant with when I married her father in April of 2013, something new was born in me. Just in that signing that paper, putting that sand in there, we something different was born. And so when I had my firstborn is when I realized that I wanted to start putting my voice out into the world and created my personal brand and started just doing positive content, right?
Mhm.
Well, my second born was born in 2020. And so I was
Mhm.
already making like faith, family, fitness, fun, like kind of surface level content. But and motherhood had been very hood for me, so I kind of
Mhm.
strayed away from motherhood focused content. I did like family content, but I was running. Okay. I
Mhm.
did faith content, but I never called myself a faith based business. So once
Mhm.
2020 hit, it really hit me like, okay, there has got to be a way. Like I've been in ministry for over 10 years at this point, and there's nobody at that time that I could find talking about, I love the Lord, but I'm not liking my life.
Mhm.
What do I do with this discontentment? How do
Mhm.
I prioritize my health? How do I take my turn? And so I hired a business coach. I hired a business
Mhm.
coach because I said, come on now, this has got to be 2021. I said, this has got to be the year that I'm able to put this together because I cannot go back to being burned out. I cannot go
Right.
back to sitting in the car wondering if I drive away, how far can I get before they notice I'm gone?
Mm.
I can't go back to that. And in order to not go back to that, I found purpose in that. I found that I need to help other women not feel that way. It doesn't make sense that I have this burning thing in my heart and I don't know how to make other women experience that same freedom.
Mhm.
Whew. So I hired a business coach, and her name is Jasmine Chanel, and I did a program with her called Mom to Mogul, and it really changed everything. Like I was able, she
Mhm.
asked me the questions like, why do people come to you? What are you like? What do you want to make sure people know before you leave this earth? And what
Mhm.
made you successful? Like losing 75 pounds and never gaining it back. Like that's not. There is some formula to it. So me,
Mhm.
Jesus, her sat down and
Mhm.
and I started going reverse engineering. Like, what was the things that made me successful? And so that's where Moms on a Mission Wellness came in. That's where the L.I.F.T framework comes in. So I teach women how to lighten their load, how to ignite their spark, how to embrace a freedom mindset, how to take their turn. I start with the spiritual weight and the mental weight. I help them see that, like, stop going straight to a diet, straight to a workout plan. Like, what is on your heart that's making
Mhm.
food your medicine? What's on your heart that's making alcohol and drugs your medicine? What's on your heart that's making Netflix till 2 a.m. your medicine? Like, let's get that off your heart first. Let's give you the community and accountability, the safe space to say, you know what? If these kids leave these socks on this floor one more time, I'm calling the police and send them away. Like, just say it, and
Yeah.
without the disclaimer of, I love my husband, bad. I'm saying my
Mhm.
kids are my everything. We know, girl.
Yeah.
We know.
We get
Just go ahead and
it.
get it out. Skip that part. You know what I'm saying? Skip to the part
Mhm.
that got on your nerves. Because the truth of the matter is, the scripture about grumbling and complaining has absolutely nothing to do with actually grumbling and complaining. The
Mhm.
scripture about grumbling and complaining is about working together and saying, do
Mhm.
not work together and not grumbling and complaining, working together. it doesn't mean that you don't ever have a complaint.
Right, right, right.
And so why how if we never complain, how are we gonna cast our cares upon the Lord
Mm.
because he cares for us?
Got to make it plain. Hello, we got to say it out.
You gotta see it, right? God already knows, right? If you couldn't complain, why did they let Job? Why did God let Job complain for chapters on end, right? And so our community, our program really helps moms get a personalized approach to wellness that is more than weight loss. It's really
Mm,
about holistic health, finding hobbies again, finding themselves again in motherhood, not walking alone. And so although I love Beachbody and I love Herbalife and I love all these amazing companies, this is something that was created by someone, that has multiple degrees in this area, multiple life experience, and who's still in the walk with y'all. My kids aren't grown.
mhm,
My youngest is
mhm,
going to be 5. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
And so that's what makes us different. And that's what I'm going to keep doing as long as the Lord continues to keep me encouraged
Yeah, yeah.
on the mission. But that is our program in our community in a nutshell.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. And in that sharing, you mentioned something that I want to go back to because I love a story. You mentioned something about getting in the car and being like, how far can I get? And I want to talk because our audience is predominantly moms, and
Yeah.
so we talk real talk here, right? Like, what can you talk about some of the things that you were doing in your life to perpetuate burnout, to perpetuate this cycle of like, oh my God, I'm frustrated in my motherhood, right? That then propelled you into doing this program. Was it constantly working and not taking breaks? Was it just over pouring out? Can you talk a little bit about that experience? Because I feel like moms need to hear that, like, you were at this place at some point
Yeah.
building this program to then help moms to kind of say, like, girl, I'm in the trenches. What was that like?
Listen, I'm in the trench. I was in the trenches. I stay in the trenches. And beautiful thing about it is I coach myself with my own framework all the time.
Yes.
I'm like, Precious, are you
Good.
lighting your load? Have you ignited your spark? Are you taking your turn? Like, are you embracing mom guilt or do you have a freedom mindset? Like, I ask myself these questions regularly. But yes, in 2019, it was the year 2019, the year of our Lord. I
Oh,
was
Lord.
I had 2 children at the time. You know how it's so funny that your most burned out point is when you start trying to have another child. You be like, girl, don't you
Mm.
recognize that you don't need no more kids? But
But
like,
here I go, because the Lord about to bless me anyway.
what are you doing? Why would you do? Why is you doing that? But it was right before I conceived our third beautiful daughter. Um, and it's funny. Oh my God, it's so funny when you look back. But it was the beginning of the school year. My first, my first daughter. So my bonus baby. Her mom had just passed, and so it was a rough season. She started middle school. She was doing okay, but honey, the reality of I was the only mom now in her life, and the weight that I had on me. I had some things going on with me with my sorority that I had just denounced. It was just a lot, right? I had
Mhm,
a lot of mental weight on me. And outwardly, I was doing well. I had just been promoted at my job. I was in ministry at church. Me and my husband go together real bad. We didn't have no
mhm,
issues. But internally, I was so weighed down. And the answers I would receive is I'm praying for you.
mhm.
Pray about it. God sees you. It was amazing encouragement, right? Amazing empowerment. But there wasn't any actual solutions to how I was feeling,
Right.
right? And I
Mhm,
didn't feel like anyone was able to help me with how I was feeling. So it was one day they went in, how sometimes you let your kids go in the house after school. I was literally in the car with the ignition on, thinking to myself, seriously, I can drive to Tennessee. It'll take me about 2 hours. And I mean, my husband was in the house, so it wasn't like I was leaving them by themselves. But I was like, if I could
mhm,
just get away, I just need time to stop.
mhm,
And I don't want nothing to happen to nobody. I don't want nothing to happen to me. If just time could stop for a second so I can think, I just
mm,
can't think. I felt like I just couldn't breathe. Like the car, and at the time I realized, I'm having an anxiety attack. So I called
mhm,
my sister and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. It was the expectations. It was I have to be perfect. My house needs to be perfect. The grades need to be perfect. My daughter's going to kindergarten. What's going on? Like I had all of that weight on me. And it was just like, am I gonna be able to do this for 18 years. And that was the moment when I called two other friends after that, after I got my breath back. And I said, once I get out of this, I need to create something. Like this don't make no sense.
Mm,
Like I'm Googling,
mm,
I'm doing all the things trying to figure out, and even counseling, I just needed to know that this was not like it wasn't something wrong with me. Like it wasn't something wrong with the way I was looking at life. Um, and God helped me. God helped me to start asking for help. God helped me to start being honest. I said out loud that you don't always like your kids. You don't always like motherhood. That you can love being a mom without always liking the job. Just like a doctor can love being a doctor and take PTO. But our job does not often have that built-in PTO system, you know?
mhm,
And so
mhm.
being able to say that out loud and people hearing me say that out loud was just freeing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just broke the chains of perfectionism. It broke the chains of pretentiousness that often happens when you are a Christian and you're positive and you're happy. Like being able to say that and people like, oh, Precious, the happy Precious is saying that. And I feel like that breaking that chain off of me broke the chain off the people around me. And so that we were able to have those conversations. Um, and so yeah, I haven't had a I'm going to drive away moment in a
Mhm,
long time. But the beautiful thing about it is whenever I feel that weight rising up in me, I now have the tools. I now know that it's time for me to take a break. I now know I have to reassess what's going on, what's on my plate. I now know I need to tap in. And then our routines in our household are set up to prevent me from getting back to that place again.
yes, yes. So many great nuggets in there. I'm like, ooh, which question I'm gonna ask first? The very first one of the things that you said to me is that stuck out to me, and the things that you did immediately was village, reaching out to your village and reaching out to your support system. One of our mantras here on the for the organization so well is it takes a village to raise a mother,
Yep.
and you called your friends, you reached out to your village, and I'm hypothesizing that Moms on a Mission was built because of that support that was needed in that moment. You being like,
Yeah.
wow, in this instance, it's community, right? That I need to. It's that taking a break. Can you agree with that statement that it was like that
Absolutely.
is yeah.
Absolutely. They were able to attest. Like they were the first people that were like, "Oh my God, yeah, that would be great." But of course, at the same time, I was like, "Okay, I need time, right?" So that was August.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hire my business coach until March of the next year. So I
Yeah.
think that's a
Yeah.
signal to anybody who is on a mission to help people. Like it's okay to heal. It's okay to get a nugget from the Lord and let it sit there until you're healed
Mm.
enough to actually do the work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they were like, you got this. They were encouraging me and they were walking with me and like, what do you need? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that I had that rich like bonds with people, that superseded just having to pretend, but not a lot of people have
Mm-hmm.
that. You know what I'm saying? My sister
Yeah.
is women's from me. These girls that I called, their husbands were elders with my husband at our church. Like it was just,
Mm-hmm.
it was like trenches. You know what I'm saying? People who were with me.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have that and you're constantly just showing up looking well, but not
Mm.
actually well, you're not it's difficult. And so platforms like Soulwell, platforms like Moms and Mission Wellness are so important because we have to get out, we have to take the mask off. We've got to have places where we can just be and no one's
Mm.
judging you or giving you a scale or giving you a grade. Like, child, if it don't matter to God, why does it matter to you? Like, if
Right.
my house is dirty. Like, if I had to raise my voice to my children and I repented and I told them, then I did it. Like, we don't have to sit here and pretend like we don't ever have, that's Jesus'
Moment.
job. Yeah, that's
That's not
Jesus' job.
real.
Like,
Yeah.
let's keep it 100. And so,
Let
yeah,
Jesus check me. I don't need you to check me, boo. Like,
exactly. Hold me accountable, right? Hold me accountable to the standards I set for myself. But we're not helping women by setting the standard that's unrealistic and then not providing any support for that unrealistic standard.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And then another thing that you also said was, you know, now when you do have those moments of wanting to drive away, you now have the tools in order to be able to handle that. Can you talk a little bit about what the tools are that you're
Yeah,
leaning on, and if you're using them to help moms in your program as well with those same tools?
for sure. So, like I said, our program is 8 weeks synchronous, 12 weeks total. So 8 weeks of working together in a small group of women towards the L.I.F.T plan, the L.I.F.T framework, teaching you all the things that help me to stay out of the burnout cycle, right? And some of those tools are the mom care routine. I have a mental list now because it's like routine, but I help women create a physical list with our workbook and all that. That what are the things that you go to when you need social health, when you need physical health, when you need spiritual health? Like, what are the things you go to? Because when you're burned out, it's not time to brainstorm. It's not time to think about what you need at that point. You got to have a list. You got to, and then the people in your life need to also know. So when I'm on the verge and I might not be able to tell it, my husband's like, okay, call Emma, call Crystal. Like, okay, Precious, I booked you this, or have you been to, like he knows the things on my mom care plan as well because it's something that we have put in place. Routines. So my husband does bedtime every night because I am a morning person. I wake up at 5 a.m. By 8:45, 9 o'clock, my mom clock is off. And so if I want to be the type of mother that my kids remember, I can't be doing no heavy lifting at 9 o'clock p.m.
Mm,
And so I
mhm,
help women
mhm.
figure out their rhythm and work routines. Like one of my biggest, one of I call it a biggest success story, though. Like I've had moms lose 50 pounds. I've had moms lost 35 pounds. I have moms get new jobs and move across the country. Like I have those type of amazing stories. But one of the biggest success stories is a mom that's a teacher of the year, mom of one, just an amazing human. Had never been on a trip alone. Her son was 10. Had never been on a couples trip. Her son was 10. And she was driving from one side of town to go pick up her son from school, take him to practice, and then come home every day. Well, her husband worked 10 minutes from the school. And so I said, have you considered your husband picking your son up from school and taking him to practice? And then some days you go to the practice and some days you don't.
Mm,
And she was like, I had never considered that. One conversation with her husband, and he was like,
mm.
yeah, I would love that. He was allowing
Wow.
her to do that because that's the system they had set up. That was
Mhm.
becoming her identity. She found
Right.
value in being the one to do it all, but that gave her husband and her son another opportunity to bond. And now that's 2 hours of her life that the pressure is relieved. She can get off of work as a teacher of the year, as a department chair, when she can, get to practice when she can, and
Right.
serve her family out of a place of overflow instead of rushing through traffic to do the things
Mm,
that we've just seen our moms do. And
mm,
so those are the type of conversations we have. Like in the 8 weeks, they have 3 one-on-one sessions. So yes, it's group, but it's still time to look at your life and say, what are the routines? What are the things that fill me up? So girl, she went on 2 trips after that. Like she
mm.
went on a trip
Yeah, she
with her
was like,
mom.
"I'm free."
Okay.
Yes.
She went on a trip with her mom to Daytona for the racing, which I felt like was so cool, right? I don't even like racing. So it was
Fun.
like something that lit her up. And then her and her husband went on the trip to Ireland or something for like, the whole like festival, Irish festival, whatever. And so I was like, that's cool. And when her son was like, am I going? She was like, no, next time. It's mommy's turn. Right.
Yes.
And so
The
like
confidence to say that too.
because
Yes.
we're breaking that mom guilt through that time. It's a
Mm.
spiritual
Yes.
journey. Our key scripture is Hebrews 12:11. Is just talking about now that we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin that so easily besets us. And a lot of times we think
Mm.
of sin such as like, oh, I'm having threesomes and I'm having drinking parties. No, sometimes sin is the the idolatry of us looking at our kids like they're our everything. The idols
Mm.
we create in ourselves by being our everything for our kids. The pride that comes
Mm.
from doing everything and having everything been done our way. And when someone shines
Yes.
a light on that, me, when I shine a light
Mm.
on that for you, it can be a little painful, but I do it from a place of I get it. It was
Yeah.
hard at first, realizing that my kids like certain things my husband does for bedtime more than me. But after
Mm.
a while, I was like, it's cool with me.
Right. Go ahead.
Go
You be
ahead.
you.
Okay, do you. Okay, they might be ashy sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the pajamas don't fit,
It's
but it's
okay.
okay. It's
Yes.
okay. Break that.
Yes.
Break that because it doesn't have to be done my way. It doesn't have to be done the way by me. And that freedom, it just allows you to focus and get your identity back. Give you some
Yeah.
time back. And so there are so many stories, dozens of stories similar to that. But I'm so proud of her now. She's still posting our app, like went to get my nails done, like the
Yay.
hubby and son, or hubby and junior at practice. Like, one thing I'll say, I know I said this answer this question long, but when you do these things, mom guilt tells you what kind of mother, insert here. But then
Hmm.
I want the freedom mindset is what type of mother will what a great mom to give your kids the opportunity to build with other people.
Hmm.
What a great
Hmm.
unselfish act to let grandma and grandpa come in and build a relationship with them. What an
Yes.
unselfish act to give godmom or uncle or best friend from church, safe people that love you, the opportunity to serve you. It's
Hmm.
like, don't think about the worst case scenario. Like, what about the best case scenario? And now, God forbid something was to happen to you, your kids have bonds with other people. God forbid
Yeah.
something to
Yeah.
happen to me. My husband knows where the lotion is. My dad,
Hello.
my dad didn't know where the lotion was. If something happened to my mother, good grief, we would have been in the world of trouble.
No.
And so that's
No ashy
generational.
elbows. No
Ashy
didn't
elbows
know.
to get you when you're hungry. You understand?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so generational health is, yeah, the workouts and the meal plans I give them and all that. But generational health is also like giving them holistic, well-rounded relationships with people other than yourself.
Yes. Yes. And also, the one thing that I heard you say and that I heard you mention in this talking about is this important aspect of mom care and
Mm-hmm.
caring and having these components of mom care and pouring from the overflow and not coming from lack and allowing them to have other experiences. And a lot of times people, moms, we lead with fear, right?
Yep.
We're like, oh my god, nobody else could do it because like nobody's gonna do it like me. But you get freedom and being able to let go. And I heard you mention mom care specifically, and I want you to talk a little bit about the key components of mom care. But one of the things that I want to ask you before you get into mom care is, to me, it sounds like a lot of this starts with mindset and getting out of the framework of I need to do it all, be all, and then I'm burnt out and like it can only be this way. It's a
Yep.
mindset shift really in your
Yeah.
program that women are going through.
Yeah. It is. It is. And the hard part, while we talk about transparently, the hard part for me as a content creator is explaining that.
Hmm.
I haven't yet, and I know once I figure it out. That's why I come on podcasts, honestly, because the net the organic nature of me speaking of what we do comes
Hmm.
through.
Right.
Um, I've once I figure out how in 90 seconds to let you know what you're going to experience, I think
Mm.
that the world is going to change, and not because of
Yeah.
me, not because I'm special and perfect or anything, but then they'll be able to be like, oh, this is what
I
I
get what
need.
you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So
Hmm.
that's something that's transparently pray for me on that. I just need to figure out
Yeah.
how to explain that to people. But once I talk to people and have discovery calls and all that kind of stuff, speaking engagements, times like this, we're like, oh yes, that's what I need. But yes, it's absolutely a mindset shift. I come from
Mhm.
not only the biblical perspective, but also the psychological perspective. I have a master's in counseling from Georgia State. Like, I'm not just saying like, oh, feel happier. No,
Yeah, yeah.
we're talking about your triggers. We're talking about stresses. We're talking about the components of your nervous system and how stress impacts the body. I have a 5S system that I walk them through for them when we talk about mom care. And I'm not going to tell y'all all the 5S because you got to
Yeah,
take
you gotta get in the program for
you
all
don't
the
get the
things,
program.
y'all.
But
Yeah.
it really is extensive, and it doesn't stop. So they have lifetime access into my community. So whenever we do a challenge or whenever things come up, activities come up, they can still key in, and there's no monthly fee. And the reason I do that is because I know moms will be like, "Oh, the summer such and such has summer camp, so I'm gonna just cancel my." No, 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 no. You in there,
Mm.
okay? And you
Yeah,
become the
yeah.
doors are constantly revolving to come back in, and then so with our retreats, they get discounts. Like, that just helps me to continue the philanthropic aspect of this
Mhm.
mission.
Mhm.
Um, and you were asking me about the mindset. Yeah. So
Mindset, yeah.
it really is all about the mindset. And so if Lyft started with the F, then it would be freedom mindset first, right? But I
Mm.
just like the word lift so much. And I think about the mom
It
lift and going,
fits.
yeah, and going to the next level and the fitness and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
um, and still, even with lightening your load, it still comes with a realization of what's on your plate. It still
Mm.
becomes with like reflection. Every
Yeah.
person who starts my program writes a letter to themselves. Um,
Beautiful.
they print out pictures of their childhood self. Like, it's really about embracing that you are one of the kids in your family. Like God,
Mm,
in God's eyes, when He looks at your family, your house, your spouse, and you are still one of the children. You've only
mm,
been here for 30 years, 40 years.
yeah,
In
yeah,
eternity, that's 3 and 4 days.
yeah. Hello.
So, like, stop thinking, oh, once I had kids, I know I cease to exist as God's daughter.
Mm,
No, you are so still so valuable. Not only you are even more of God's daughter because now the kids need you.
yeah, you're right.
So you can't just put yourself on the back burner. Like you've got to put yourself back on the list, even if it's hard for you to put yourself first. Even if you subscribe to, and not saying subscribe. We know the word talks about outdoing one another in service and serving others and things of that sort. But it doesn't mean that you don't still love others as you love yourself. It doesn't still mean that you have love for yourself and you have care for yourself as God's daughter. And so, yes, mindset is huge and it's incorporated in every single part from playlist while you're working out, from looking at the food you eat as fuel for the body. Like everything we do comes back to like the power of renewing our mind and not leaning on our own understanding.
Yes, yes, I love that. I love that. And as a girl who grew up in the church, I specifically love the program for its faith based roots, right?
Mm,
And not just being the fluff that we see on from some people online, like rooted in what God has set for us to be, to live in our best self in the way
yeah,
that He sees us.
yeah.
And so, what is different from why is mom care different from self care? What is the
Yeah.
difference in that? And you don't have to give me all the juicy details because we want people to go to the program and get to the program. But like, is there a difference in that? I
It is.
heard you say something about like boundaries, making sure your husband knows the plan and all that. And I kind of feel like you're alluding to it. Can you give us a little snippet of like what that means in that definition?
Yeah, the definition not gonna give it away because the truth of the matter
Okay.
is, I want I have a life mission that a million moms would learn hear the generational health message. That's another reason why I come
Mm,
on podcast. So like the point is I might lay a seed, you might not come work with me for 5 years, right? I may
yeah.
drop a seed and you go and you start go into counseling or you go get a different life coach, right? Like I might not, this fast talking West African might not be for you, but
Mm,
I know there's a difference between knowing what to do and having someone hold your hand while you do it, right? So I'm
mm-hmm,
the guide on the journey to walk you through creating and keeping up with your mom care routine. So the
mm-hmm,
difference between mom care and self care is a burden. Self care still relies on the person who is giving the care. And when you're caring for tiny humans, if you're married for a spouse all the time, by the time it's time to take care of yourself, you're tired. It's like, oh great, another thing. Oh great, I have to get my nails
mm-hmm.
done. Oh great, I have to set up an appointment. Oh great,
Something else on the list.
something else on the list, right? Self care is important, right? It is a little tap on the back, but I believe that mom care precedes self care. Mom care is making sure that it happens. Mom care
Mm,
is creating a team so it happens. So like my moms get resources to make sure that they schedule out their appointments. They get quarterly reminders to schedule their appointments. They have a list of like who is on your team so that you can say, I have my nutritionist, I have my dermatologist, my dentist. Like same thing our kids have, like a child care
yeah.
is a mom care,
Mm-hmm.
and then you
That's
have
so
a
cute.
coach that's going to help you make sure you stay on the list, right?
Mm,
And so mom care comes down to not only knowing what you need to do for yourself, but needs to be assigning some tasks for other people.
mm,
What are those people's roles in your life? And believe it or not, sometimes it feels like very self-centered, but it's not. Because I have a mom care routine, I'm better able to tell my husband, like, it's been a second since you had your friends over to play. What did he play with them? What's the name of that game? It's sitting up there. But like he plays this huge board game and they have a great time. He's such a nerd. I love
mhm,
it.
mhm, mhm,
Or like I'm able to tell him like, hey, you haven't had your friends over to do that in a while. Or is there a UFC fight tonight? You want to go out? Like because I am well taken care of, I remind him to take care of himself. My
yes,
girls know when one of my daughter, especially my 10-year old, she'll say, "I need a minute," and she'll go outside to take a fresh. Like she's very hyperactive. She'll go outside and run. Mom care is a modeling process. So yes, I have my team, but it's also helped my kids and my family know that like we all require a care plan. We all need to know what are the things that help us when we're feeling burned out or overstimulated. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't, especially for that mom who's like, I'm a stay-at-home mom, my kids are my life. Fine.
Mm,
I love that for you. Show them how to take care of themselves by taking care of
yes.
you.
Mm.
You can't keep telling the kids don't do what you tell them to do. We know that.
Then we know that they don't
We
but
know that for
model. They
sure.
only, yeah,
They
yep,
do
that's
what
for
you
sure.
show them. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you can't yet, now by the time you finish working with me, you will have the intrinsic motivation. But if you don't have the intrinsic motivation yet, get the call with me. Get the free mom care call with me so that you can at least see how it's going to impact the childhood memories they have of their mom.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Yes. I remember, and I'm so glad you said that. I remember speaking with someone and talking about, and this happens not just with this particular person, but with a lot of moms, our kids being the reminder. They're the reminder of why we need to be
Yeah,
taking care of ourselves. Oh, I see my daughter do this thing, and I'm like, oh, let me fix that because
right.
don't want her to show up in the world that way. And so, if for nothing else, taking care of yourself, if you can't think of yourself because you just are so in love with your kids, right? Like, and they're the only thing, if for nothing else, it's doing them a justice
Yeah,
for you taking care of yourself as well. If you
yeah.
can't get past, like, you can't take care of yourself, think about taking care of yourself for them, if that's what it takes,
Yeah,
if that's
and the
what it
thing
takes.
about it is, I mean, some people will say, you know, they didn't ask to be here. I'm there, everything. But you realize that, and for someone who has about to be 18-year-old, they are not. You are not going to be their primary source of wisdom, strength, encouragement, and livelihood forever.
For more than half their life, and you got them for eight, and hello,
Less than 18 years, because around 14, from here comes the
they don't want to
education
hear nothing you got
background.
to say.
Your kids don't care. Around when they get
Mm-hmm.
to that adolescent point, their primary influence is their peers. So between 0 and 13, your job is to help them have the mindset to choose well and to trust you to be a source of wisdom, right?
Yeah,
So I'm grateful that my 17-year-old still comes to us for advice and text us in the middle of the day. What should I say? Because we've become trusting people. She trusts the way I handle my friendships. She's seen me with conflict with my friends. I have friends,
yeah,
right? My purpose, I have conflict. I have a business. I have things I'm passionate about. So she can trust that I know what I'm talking about, right? So you
yes,
cannot just overabsorb yourself in your kid's life, and then what happens when they are moving on? Someone I read or watched someone say, our job in parenthood is to work ourselves out of a job.
mm,
So if you're constantly making it so that you will always be needed by your children, I want you to reevaluate that.
mm-hmm.
As they get older, you want to create them so that they will want you, desire you,
I need you
call
less.
upon you, but not necessarily need you to be
Mm,
functioning.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, that's so true. Because I want my kids to be independent and going out the house and fine. I don't want my kid up under my
And my
sofa in the
baby, she knows she
basement.
can come back, but she knows she can come back, and she may come back because she's in grad school. Da, da, da. But I also want her to know
Whatever.
that, like, I believe that my mom and dad equipped me to do. Like, I have options.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have options, and that's important too. That's important. It's another stage of motherhood that you're going to go into, and
yeah,
that's going to look completely different. One of the things to just kind of like start to close in on our conversation because it's really important to me that we talk about this. How we started is why is it important to raise awareness about mom care and generational health overall, right? Like we started out talking about generational health and what that means, but what is the importance of that, and what is the importance of the work that you're doing?
yeah. This is not mommy wellness is community wellness. If we want stronger communities, healthier communities, public health, it really comes down to their mother. The CDC
Mhm.
put out a study about 6 years ago that the health and activity level of toddlers is directly tied to health and activity level of their mothers, right? You are your children's first home. You are their first model, right? And so, especially in the African American community, as moms, and this is not to make it weightier and heavier on you, but it's just the reality that fathers and community members need to be pouring in and providing that support so that moms don't feel so guilty when they take care of themselves. You want healthier families, you want healthier communities, you want to lower high blood pressure. Heart disease is still the number one killer of African American people, especially African American women in our country for the past 25 years. And so it is not just about spa days and the mom feeling good or feeling warm and fuzzy. No, this is about our communities having longevity. This is about our kids not having childhood obesity being an epidemic. This is about our communities, our marriages lasting. Y'all, these people are getting divorces once the kids get to teenage years because they don't have any identity outside of the kids. So we're talking about our community's health. Stress is still the number one linked risk factor in most chronic illnesses. So if you're talking about what qualifies this lady, because I research health, I know what these factors are. And if we want to be building generational wealth, who's going to live to experience it and appreciate it? You've got to build generational health and prioritize your health if you're going to appreciate and enjoy the spoils of your labor in building generational wealth. So community building and preventing these chronic illnesses that continue to run rampant in our communities comes down to the way the mom eats, the way the mom sleeps, the way the all of that, right? It's so important. Of course, our fathers are important. So you, as a father, listening to this, or if you're listening, a wife listening to this around your husband, they are going to lead the way. I could not do the work I do if it wasn't for my husband. I could not. I couldn't. Not only was he my first investor, because that 5K from my business coach came right up out that savings account, okay? But he bought my first computer. He does the bedtime. You know what I'm saying? When I go have a speaking engagement, he's encouraging the kids, like, leave your mom alone while she get her makeup done. Like, these are different things that if it wasn't for his leadership, I wouldn't be able to do. So those who are not moms and listen to this podcast, you have a part in the mom care routine. You have a part in building generational health, and you can't take it lightly. The world right now is trying to do everything to dismantle public health and awareness. We as a community have to do what it takes to make sure that we keep that at the forefront for ourselves. Ooh, you're on mute.
And I was going to say yes, 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 because when moms heal, communities thrive and
Yes.
communities do well because moms, yeah, the pillars, right? We're the ones that are birthing communities. And so taking care of the moms in the community is a public health concern. So thank you for raising that. And also, like, just thank you for being here and sharing that. I want to also just kind of segue into something that how I found you, because I personally believe balance is this thing that's unattainable. I personally believe in harmony, and have kind of adopted this philosophy that harmony is like a song, right? You don't want to have a song without a melody that's harmonized, and that's how we should approach life because balance assumes equality, and you can't be 100 on all areas because it will
Mm-hmm.
be essentially unbalanced. And I found your program, the Harmony program, because of that. I was just doing research online and the Harmony program and retreat came up because you have such good branding. And can you talk to me a little bit and to our audience about what the Harmony program and retreat is, what that is for moms, how is that, and what that is for our community? Talk about it.
I just need to know, and I need you to know that the Lord has sent you in my life on this day.
Yes.
Seriously. Girl, Uh, so the Harmony Retreat is my baby. It is that came from that burnout moment where I said if I could just drive away and think, I just need time. I want my family to be fine. Girl, I'm gonna cry. I need to get myself together. I just want my family to be okay. I love them so much. I wouldn't want anything to happen to them. I want to be their mom. I just want to be good at it. I
Yeah.
don't want to suck at this. I don't want them to
Mm-hmm.
see. I don't want people in college to know me better than my kids. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to know me as one way, but my kids know me as another way. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just was like, I just need somewhere to go that I could just like sit and talk to God about this. And I couldn't find it. And so I before I hired that business coach I was working with, it's so funny, Jasmine's gonna laugh when she if she listens to this because I hired another business coach that I'm still very close with, Marlena Banks. And hers was more like faith-based founders. So it's more so like founders who have an idea, right? She's still
Mm-hmm.
amazing. She still does great work. And we just wrote my life album, basically my mission, like what I want to do before I leave the earth, and I still have that.
Mm-hmm.
And the retreat was like put on there.
Mhm.
5 years later, after I built my business and everything, and she just said, "Don't plan the retreat, leave it. Don't do anything with it.
Mhm.
Just leave it there." And so, after 9 cohorts of my business of my coaching program, I said, "It's time, right? It's time."
Mhm.
So this October, we went by a lake, had Pilates, a chef, worship music by one of my favorite artists, Jamie
Aw.
Grace, and we just went through the curriculum that helps women realize that balance is a myth, harmony is attainable, and that God, Jesus, is like the ultimate director of it. Like
Mm.
sometimes the altos are taking the lead, sometimes, and that might be your kids. Some because the
Mhm.
altos got to be the kids because they the loudest ones.
Yeah,
Okay,
gotta be because they strong.
got to be they strong. Okay, it's strong. And then sometimes it might be your business. It's the Sopranos, and then sometimes it might be your
Yeah.
spouse who is a tenor. And
Mhm.
there are going to be many times where they're like at the same volume and everything is like boom, 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 boom. And then sometimes it's going to be
Mhm.
like it's a cappella. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And the biggest thing is that having the right direction, having communication. Sometimes I sing in the choir and praise team. So like sometimes you don't even have to talk to each other. You can just look at each other, right, and communicate.
Mhm.
And so with in our families and as moms in the mission, sometimes we have that tug and it's like an enigma. Like my mentor says, it's that dichotomy. It is not because something's wrong. It's because we're not communicating.
Mm.
I can tell my spouse and my kids, I'll tell them like, hey, this is what's going on. Mommy has a speaking engagement this weekend. X, Y, and Z. Hey, tenor, I need you to do this. Hey, soprano. Like we're able to communicate and it's like hands in, Team Williams. You know what I'm saying? And so when you have that communication and letting God be that director, that weight comes off of you. And so the Harmony Retreat is something that we have currently twice a year. Future, I want to have it as often as possible. Child, if I can get a house, God give me grace
Mhm.
to have a house that we just literally have y'all rolling up in there every weekend, like what's it, hotel, motel, Holiday Inn, and just have that programming regularly. I would love that, because
Yeah.
sometimes you'd be like, I need to go now. Like if I can't,
Yeah.
I gotta get out now. If I don't get out now, something's gonna go wrong. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's the Harmony Retreat, and it's my baby. So
Yeah.
coaching clients um, have access to the retreat as a discount, and then people who come into my program in 2025 and beyond have like an opportunity to upgrade. So you can do my
Yeah.
program traditionally, or you can upgrade where the retreat is included.
Mhm.
And I'm just excited about what God is doing. I'm excited for people like you who Googled it and it came up because that just, people see somebody online, especially who's boisterous and shows up the way I do, and think that we're just so confident and always have it. No, like I need to hear these types of things just the same. So if you're a mompreneur listening to this, you're not alone. God sees you. You're raising babies and running your business. Don't give up. Yeah.
Yes. That was actually perfect because my next question was going to be if you could share one message of encouragement or wisdom to moms right now that are looking to prioritize themselves or run a business or whatever, like what would that be?
Yeah. That piece of advice would be something that a single friend told me at my wedding shower is do not forget your God's daughter first. And
Mm.
at that time, I was just like, oh, that's so sweet. But it's so true. And when you get married, you lose your last name. When you have
Mm.
kids, you lose your first name. You become mommy. You become Mrs.
Yes.
Williams. You become, my last name was pretty cool before I got married. And so that's why the K is there. And people always say,
Mhm.
oh, do you want me to say the K? Yes, please. Precious
Yes,
Kofi Williams.
please.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Okay, yes, please. Um, but don't forget your God's daughter first, and He loves you, and you don't have to, those two things can exist. You can be mommy and Mrs. and daughter and friend and boss, but you're insert name here first. And so
Mhm.
just remember that. And lastly, like if you love your family, you've got to take care of their mother. You
Yeah.
cannot continue to think that you taking care of them and never taking care of you is serving them, or you
Mm.
taking care of them and never giving them the honor, the gift, and the privilege to take care of you back is not serving them either. So
Yes.
put some stuff on the list. I do have intake sessions that I have regularly. Just DM me on any platform. You can go to my website and set it up as well. But don't let guilt or resources or anything stop you. Because if the kids needed it, you would find a way. And so,
Yes, 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 absolutely. And for those of you who are driving and you're listening to this or on the treadmill or whatever, all of the links to Precious content will be available. We're going to link to the program. We're going to link to all of the great things that she's doing and the resources that she's mentioned here today, whether that's the Harmony Retreat or the Lift program and the Moms on a Mission, all the things. It's going to be there for you all in the show notes. Is there anything that you have that's upcoming that you want to promote or share or talk about before we
yes.
close out?
So this season is heavy on the coaching. So as you can hear, I speak. So if your church, community group, or anything needs a speaker to come in, you're like, oh, Precious, I need that message. I do discuss building generational health and beating burnout with groups. So send for me. I'm there. So that's something you can go to my
Yes.
website, speaker. Under work with me, speaker request, and put that request in, and then we're onboarding new clients. So in the past, I had my cohorts start and stop at a certain point, and now we're onboarding monthly. So if you come in, you're like, okay, Precious, I just really need to get involved. We'll onboard you and get you into a group. So don't, especially summer. This is a time if y'all are listening to this, just like you set up them summer camps, put yourself on the
Mm-hmm.
payment plan. Okay, put yourself on the payment plan with me and get in a cohort so you can while they're going to camp, you can also be prioritizing your health. You
Go to
don't
mommy camp.
go to mom. Okay,
The Moms on a
prioritize
Mission mommy
yourself.
camp.
Yes, don't get me started. Okay, don't get me started.
I
Yes,
love it though.
yes. And so
No,
of course
thank
the
you,
next
thank
retreat
you.
is October. So that's the last thing. Our next retreat is October. Those payment plans are also open as well. So get on your list. Don't put yourself last. Factor yourself in that family budget and that family calendar. And I want to see you as a part of our family.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much. Lastly, we have our bonus section where I ask all of my guests, really simple, to share an affirmation, scripture, or intention for our listeners to close the episode.
Oh boy, so many ideas. Let me see. Okay. I am worthy of the love I give everyone else.
That is beautiful. I am worthy of the love I give everyone else. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's something that I needed to hear today. I hope that your story and your mission connects with one of our listeners. I'm sure it will. But I'm so thankful for you for being here and for speaking with our guests. And for those of you that are listening, you need to put yourself on the list. If this wasn't a reminder to you, I'm going to say it over and over on every episode. Put yourself at the very top of the list. Your family, like Precious K. Williams said, deserves their caregiver to be taken care of. Thank you for listening to the So Well podcast. I'm so, so, so honored to have you all as listeners. Until next time, stay well and stay whole. See you next week. Bye.
Hit the notification bell wherever you are listening to us today and join us next week as we delve into more mental health conversations. The So Well community offers a safe ground for the transformative healing and restoration of intergenerational trauma, ensuring moms of color have a space to rewrite their stories, recover, live well, be seen, and heard. Join us online and on Instagram at So Well for daily inspiration, blogs, events, and more. See you next time.
The Stonewall podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. We are not doctors, therapists, or medical professionals, and the content shared here is based on personal experiences and research, and it should not be taken as medical or therapeutic advice. Please consult a qualified professional for any mental health or medical concerns.